Russia slowed down Twitter speed and threatened a total block after the site allegedly failed to delete banned content. If Twitter continues to ignore the requirements of the law, the enforcement measure will be continued. The state communication regulator said. Think about that. The move, which escalates a growing standoff between Moscow and U.S. social media, comes weeks after Russian authorities accused Twitter and others of failing to delete posts it said illegally urged children to take part in the anti-Kremlin protests. The regulators claims that the vast majority of the posts Twitter allegedly refused to delete contain content encouraging minors to take their own lives. Other posts, including indecent images of children and information about drug abuse. Moscow has gradually introduced tougher internet laws in recent years requiring search engines to delete some search results, messaging services to share encryption keys, etc., etc., etc. Tom, what do you, by the way, Russia tried to ban Telegram Messenger since 2018, for example, but proved technically unable to block the app, and last year publicly lifted the ban. What do you think Russia's doing here going after Twitter?
I think there is a not so humorous truth that's in the middle of that, and that is you are encouraging children to take their own lives. What are you talking about? You're encouraging them to speak against the government. Oh, I see. So that's how you take your own life. You speak against the government and you get disappeared, right? Look, Russia really hasn't changed that much. I mean, since the Soviet Union broke, they've been trying to put it back together. And the biggest thing they're trying to put back together is the control systems. And information, and human yearning for freedom are things that are catalysts for massive change. And the government doesn't want change. I think it's as simple as that. And this window to the world, they don't want it. This soapbox to speak, they don't want it. Ronald Reagan told a great joke. And he said, he was talking to a Russian friend, and he says, I think the United States is great for the freedom. And he said, why do you say that? And Ronald Reagan said, because any citizen in America can walk in to the president's office and pound his fist on the table and say, Mr. Reagan, I don't like how you're running your country. And the Russian guy says, I can do that too. So what do you mean? I can walk into Gorbachev's office, I can pound my fist on the table, and I said, I don't like how Mr. Reagan's running his country. And I don't think anything's changed. Yeah. It's just these digital tools.
Russia's still Russia.
Russia's still Russia.
How much of this liability is on Twitter? How much of this is backfiring on Twitter based on how they mishandled prior incidents?
I think they need to be careful that arrogance against American controls doesn't play well other places like China and Russia.
How ugly could this get? I mean, what can Russia really do to Twitter? Let's face it. What do you do? You can't bomb a social media platform and say, I'm going to blow you up, Twitter.
Well,
what do you do? They got great hackers. I mean, we all know Russians got great hackers.
We're going to talk about it a little later, but Microsoft right now is under a state-sponsored attack from China.
Yep.
So you've got some smart people over there, and I think, digital attacks, digital warfare. I think that's exactly where they go with this.
Okay.
If they're not going
do you have
already.
any thoughts?
Well, I mean, back to your initial thought, of complaining against the government of Russia. Obviously, Putin's in charge there. What's the name of the gentleman who's been the biggest dissident and detractor of Putin? Alexei Navalny. Right, we've seen this guy's story over the last.
The Germans took 3 months in a hospital to save his
so
life.
he was poisoned on a plane. We played that video sort of in one of the initial podcasts.
Yep.
He's back in the plane. Oh my God! They take him off the plane. Turns out he was poisoned. Clearly, this was a
Germany saves his life.
Germany saves his life. Shout out to your people. And
I'm Canadian, by the way.
Okay, I didn't. Just go along with it, baby. What does this guy do? He, recovers. And what does he do? He goes back to Russia and essentially dares Putin to kill him again. He gets arrested. What's the status of him now?
Puts him on trial and puts him in a tough prison. That's where he is right now, is he not?
I don't know. That's my point, is that you speak out against the government, poisoned, imprisoned. Good luck out there. I mean, back to your point about the Russian joke. Back to your point with Twitter. How do you fight a social media company if you're a strong man like Putin? It's just hacking, digital warfare. Is that the only outlet you have to doing something like this?
That's the question I'm asking. Kai, what can they really do to Twitter? Can they do anything to Twitter outside of hacking?
You can't poison Twitter. Or can you?
Tom, can they do anything to Twitter? Or you don't have an
I
answer
think-
for that.
I think they just shut it off, right? Because Russia controls internet over there. You know,
Yeah,
they'll shut it off.
They limit access so nobody in
In
Russia.
Russia.
Can use
But can
Twitter.
they do anything to the actual network of Twitter?
I think just tweeting or hacking bots, kind of that stuff.
Well,
they can do some stuff.
two things.
Which obviously can do damage, because remember the Bitcoin scam that happened with Twitter on the users and stuff like that?
Well,
So-
according to CNN, they can steal elections. It's proven by CNN folks. For
And if
3 years.
CNN said it, you know it's true.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Clearly.
that's your community.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.